The rain hammers against my windshield like tiny fists demanding entry. 4 weeks before Christmas, and Portland has dressed herself in a cloak of water and darkness. I grip the steering wheel tighter, squinting to make out the road markings through the downpour. Just 12 minutes from home. 12 minutes from a hot shower, my worn flannel pajamas, and the leftover lasagna waiting in my fridge. I ease to a stop at the red light, drumming my fingers against the wheel in rhythm with Fleetwood Mac on the radio. Something my mother used to play on Sunday mornings. The smell of coffee and cinnamon rolls filling our house before things changed. The light turns green. I press the gas. The world slows down. A flash of headlights from my left, impossibly bright and impossibly close. The speeding SUV barrels through its red light, aimed directly at my driver's side door. My mouth opens to scream, but the sound gets swallowed by the unholy shriek of metal folding in on itself. My car spins violently, and I'm a rag doll inside it. The smell of burning rubber fills my nostrils, followed by something metallic and warm. Blood. My blood. The world goes black. I wake to the rhythmic beeping of machines, and the antiseptic smell that can only mean hospital. A nurse notices my open eyes and calls for the doctor. Everything feels distant, like I'm watching a movie about someone else's life. Someone is speaking about a compound femur fracture, surgical pins, physical therapy, 6 to 7 months of therapy to avoid permanent damage, the doctor says, his face grave above his neatly trimmed beard. He holds up my x-rays, pointing to the place where my leg is now more metal than bone. There will be a scar, Miss Wilson, a significant one. I close my eyes, trying to process what this means. Just 2 days ago, my life made sense. Ryan and I had spent 5 years building our relationship. Our summer wedding plans were already taking shape. A small ceremony by the Columbia River. Nothing extravagant but meaningful. Why wait any longer? He'd asked on our anniversary, sliding a modest diamond ring onto my finger. My career as a marketing designer had been flourishing. The promotion to senior creative lead had come with a corner desk near the window, and a salary that finally let me breathe easier at the end of each month. I'd celebrated by buying real plants instead of the plastic ones that had decorated my workspace for years. I loved my small apartment, with its creaky floors and the reading nook overlooking downtown Portland. On clear days, I could see Mount Hood in the distance, a snow-capped reminder that beauty existed beyond concrete and glass. I'd spend Sunday mornings there with coffee, and whatever novel had captured my imagination that week, a life I'd built carefully, piece by piece, now shattered like the windows of my car. My mother, stepfather, and sister Sloane arrive on the third day. Their visit lasts exactly 20 minutes. I watch the minutes tick by on the wall clock above their heads. They stand awkwardly around my bed, asking casual questions about the weather, the hospital food, whether the nurses are treating me well. Mother keeps her coat on the entire time. "We brought you something," Sloane says, placing a small fruit basket on the chair beside my bed. The cellophane wrapper crinkles as she sets it down. 3 apples, 2 oranges, and a bunch of grapes I know will go sour before I can eat them. My stepfather checks his watch twice. When they leave, the silence in the room feels heavier than before. I reach for my phone when it buzzes with a text, my hand trembling slightly from the effort. The message is from Ryan. "I can't handle a future like this." 7 words. 5 years reduced to 7 words. I call my mother the next morning, my voice still rough from the breathing tube they'd inserted during surgery. "I need help," I tell her, the words burning my throat. "Just temporarily. The medical bills and rent. Everyone's struggling right now, Emberly," she says, her voice sharp with impatience. "Your stepfather's business is barely staying afloat, and we're helping Sloane with her wedding deposits. I could lose my apartment," I whisper. "We just can't right now." A pause, and Sloane's feeling under the weather. She doesn't want to catch any hospital germs, so we won't be visiting again soon. The line goes quiet after we hang up. I stare at the ceiling, connecting the dots in the acoustic tiles above my bed. The truth crystallizes with stark clarity. My family's support has always been conditional, present only when convenient, absent when needed most. Outside my window, Portland continues to rain. I watch a drop of water trace its way down the glass, joining others in its descent, and wonder how I never saw the cracks in my foundation until everything collapsed around me. The bank statement on my phone screen blurs through my tears. 3 weeks of medical bills have emptied the savings account I'd nurtured for 5 years. The numbers mock me, $17.42 remaining where once 5 figures had provided security. I swipe away from the screen as if that might change the reality. My apartment door wears a neon orange eviction notice like a garish corsage. Final warning screams from the top in bold letters. I lean against the doorframe, my crutches digging into my armpits, the weight of my cast pulling on muscles that haven't recovered from the trauma. 30 days to pay or vacate. But the 30 days had passed while I lay medicated in a hospital bed. You need help packing? My neighbor asks from across the hall, her expression a mixture of pity and discomfort. I'm fine. I lie, the words automatic. Inside, cardboard boxes from the recycling bin form a small mountain in my living room. I slide to the floor, wincing as my cast hits the ground harder than intended. How do you pack a life with a broken body? I stretch awkwardly toward the bookshelf, fingertips grazing the spine of a novel Ryan gave me on our 3rd anniversary. The effort sends shooting pain up my thigh, a scream building in my throat that I swallow back. For 4 hours, I fill one box. Just one. The physical agony of moving with a hip-to-ankle cast fades beneath the crushing realization that no one is coming to help me. Not family, not Ryan, not friends who prove to be merely pleasant weather companions. You have until 5 p.m. tomorrow, the building manager says when he stops by. He doesn't meet my eyes. I can't make exceptions. The rental car feels both salvation and shame later that evening. I park behind my old gym, where the membership I can no longer afford once granted me access to hot showers and fitness classes. Now, I'll use their exterior electrical outlet to charge my phone while I sleep in their shadow. I recline the passenger seat as far as it will go, wedging my awkward cast between the dashboard and seat. The emergency blanket from the trunk crinkles with every movement, its silver surface reflecting the dimming winter light. My body refuses to find comfort, the cast a constant reminder of how thoroughly my life has fractured. Morning brings the first humiliation, using the gas station restroom to brush my teeth while avoiding the cashier's curious gaze. I splash water on my face, pat it dry with rough paper towels, and tell myself this is temporary. In the mirror, a woman I barely recognize stares back hollowed cheeks, unwashed hair twisted into a messy bun, eyes that have forgotten how to hope. Bathrooms for customers only. The cashier calls when I emerge. I buy the cheapest coffee they offer, the taste of charity bitter on my tongue. 4 nights, each colder than the last. December in Portland shows no mercy to the homeless. The recently homeless, the never thought I'd be homeless. The distinction matters little when rain hammers against the car windows, a percussive accompaniment to my silent tears. The heater runs until the gas gauge warns me to stop. On the 5th morning, I wake to windows fogged with my breath, the cold having crept into my bones during the night. I check my phone battery at 12%. The doctor's warning echoes in my mind. Without proper care, you could have a permanent limp. My physical therapy appointment was scheduled for yesterday. The notification mocks me from my calendar, the $175 session fee, now as unreachable as the moon. I attempt the exercises the hospital therapist demonstrated, my legs screaming in protest with each movement. The pain shoots from ankle to hip, white-hot and merciless. Straighten and hold for 30 seconds, I whisper, reciting the therapist's instructions. I manage 8 seconds before collapsing back against the seat, breath coming in short gasps. Each day without proper care is a mortgage against my future. The thought of limping through life at 30 terrifies me more than the homelessness, more than the hunger that has become my constant companion. My phone shows 17 outgoing calls to my mother, to Sloan, to my stepfather, none returned. I've left voicemails that evolved from composed requests to desperate pleas, the progression of my dignity's erosion preserved in digital form. Please, I whispered in the last one, 3 days ago. I'm sleeping in my car. I just need a couch, just until I can figure something out. The silence in response says everything my family won't. I park near a public restroom in a city park, timing my arrival between the morning joggers and the lunch crowd. The rain has returned, a steady drizzle that soaks through my coat as I maneuver from car to building. My crutches slip on the wet pavement. Once. Twice. The 3rd time, my right crutch slides completely out from under me. I fall hard, the impact sending shockwaves through my broken leg. The world whites out in pain. The cold pavement presses against my cheek, rain pooling around my face, soaking through my clothes. I try to rise, but my body has finally surrendered. Through dimming consciousness, I register someone kneeling beside me. Not family, not a friend. A park janitor in a green uniform, his weathered face creased with concern. "Don't move, honey," he says, phone already at his ear. "Help's coming. I'm staying right here." As the ambulance sirens wail in the distance, I wonder if accepting help from this stranger means finally admitting my family has truly abandoned me. Should I keep trying to reconnect with those who share my blood, or accept that sometimes the family we need isn't the one we're born into? The janitor holds my hand until the paramedics arrive. A simple human connection that feels more honest than any I've known in years. A soft knock at the hospital door pulls me from fitful sleep. I blink against the harsh fluorescent lighting, expecting another nurse with pain medication or perhaps the doctor with more bad news. Instead, I find myself looking at Mr. Callahan, my former creative writing professor from Portland Community College. His silver hair is neatly combed, and he's wearing the same type of corduroy jacket he always wore to class. For a moment, I wonder if the pain medication is causing hallucinations. "Emberly," he says, his voice warm with concern. "The janitor who found you in the parking lot is my nephew, Marcus. He recognized you from when you'd visit my office hours." Mr. Callahan steps closer, his hands fidgeting with the leather strap of his messenger bag. "He told me what happened." I turn my face away, shame burning through me more powerfully than the pain radiating from my leg. "I'm fine," I whisper, the lie bitter on my tongue. "You were sleeping in your car with a compound fracture." His voice holds no judgment, just quiet certainty. "That's not fine by any definition. I don't need... My wife and I have a loft above our garage." He interrupts gently. "It's small, but it has a bathroom and kitchenette. The doctor says you'll be discharged tomorrow. It's yours until you're back on your feet." Pride makes me open my mouth to refuse, but reality closes it again. The eviction notice, the empty savings account, the unanswered calls to family. Mr. Callahan must see the battle on my face because he sets his bag down and pulls a chair closer to my bed. "Everyone needs help sometimes, Emberly. This isn't charity, it's humanity." When I nod, the relief that washes over his face makes me wonder who is helping whom. The doctor called physical therapy rehabilitation. A more honest term would be torture. Twice weekly, I grit my teeth through exercises that send fire shooting through my leg. My physical therapist, Diane, is relentlessly cheerful as she pushes my limits. "One more rep," she says, for what feels like the 10th one more. "I can't." I gasp, sweat dampening my t-shirt. "You can and you will," she replies, her smile never faltering. The alternative is a lifetime of pain and limited mobility. At night, the accident replays in Technicolor behind my closed eyelids, the flash of headlights, the shriek of metal, the warm trickle of blood down my face. I wake gasping for air, my heart hammering against my ribs like it's trying to escape. The stairs to the loft become my personal Everest. The first time I attempt them alone, I tumble backward on the third step, landing hard on my tailbone. The second time, my crutch slips on the edge, and I barely catch myself on the railing. The third time, I crawl up on my hands and one good knee, dragging the useless leg behind me like dead weight. Mrs. Callahan brings dinner up each evening, setting the tray on the small table by the window. "Just until you can manage the stairs," she insists when I try to protest. "Thank you," I say instead, forcing the words past the lump in my throat. Each night after they've gone to bed, I allow myself exactly 10 minutes of tears, 10 minutes to feel sorry for myself, to wonder if I'll ever be whole again. Then I wipe my face, take a deep breath, and promise myself that tomorrow will be better than today. One afternoon, a folded piece of construction paper appears on my pillow. Opening it reveals a crayon drawing of a woman with a purple cast and flowing cape. "Emberly, stronger than steel," is written in careful block letters across the top. Mr. Callahan's 14-year-old son, Aiden, must have left it while I was in the shower. I prop it against the lamp on my nightstand, where it's the first thing I see each morning. 3 weeks into my stay, sleep evades me despite the exhaustion weighing on my bones. I scroll through social media, a habit I've mostly abandoned since the accident. Ryan hasn't contacted me once since that devastating text message. My thumb freezes mid-scroll. There he is, tanned and smiling on a beach in Maui. His arm is around a petite blonde wearing a red bikini. The date on the post is exactly 16 days after my accident. 2 weeks after he told me he couldn't handle a future like this. My finger trembles as I tap the message icon for Tara, the only friend who still checks in regularly. Did you know about this? I type, attaching a screenshot. The response comes almost immediately. Honey, he was already seeing her before your accident. I thought you knew. The phone slips from my fingers, bouncing on the bed before sliding to the floor. The betrayal should hurt more than it does. I wait for tears that don't come. Instead, a strange clarity washes over me, like finally putting on glasses after years of squinting. Ryan's abandonment, my family's absence. The pattern crystallizes with perfect, terrible clarity. My worth to them had always been tied to their convenience. When I became inconvenient, broken, needy, they simply walked away. The next morning, I open my laptop and find a free web design course online. My design background gives me a head start, and I lose myself in HTML and CSS for hours. When my leg throbs too badly to concentrate, I switch to watching tutorials on creating responsive layouts. 2 weeks later, I complete my first paid project, a simple logo for a local bakery. When the PayPal notification shows $70 transferred to my account, I stare at the screen in disbelief. I created something of value from this broken body, from this borrowed room. I mentioned to some colleagues that you're doing web design, Mr. Callahan says over breakfast one morning. He slides a list of names and email addresses across the table. They're all small business owners who could use some help with their online presence. That afternoon, I send out emails to everyone on the list. By evening, 3 have responded with interest. When I realize I've earned enough for my next physical therapy session without dipping into my dwindling emergency fund, I allow myself a real smile for the first time in months. The corner of the loft transforms into a makeshift office. My laptop sits on a small desk. Mr. Callahan helped me carry up the stairs. I pin color swatches and design inspirations to a corkboard on the wall. I set my rates $150 for a small website and create templates to streamline my workflow. As sunset bathes the loft in golden light, I check my email one last time before calling it a day. A new message waits in my inbox. Seeking contract web designer for quarterly projects. I open the email and begin to read, the glow from my screen mingling with the last rays of daylight streaming through the window. For the first time since the accident, tomorrow looks like more than just something to endure, it looks like something to anticipate. The morning routine becomes my anchor. Before the sun even considers brightening Portland's winter sky, I'm already awake, my legs stretched across the bed as I work through the therapy exercises that have become as natural as breathing. Bend, extend, rotate. Pain still shoots through my thigh with each movement, but it's duller now, more like an echo than a scream. By 6, I'm at my makeshift desk in the corner of Mr. Potterat, Callahan's garage loft, coffee steaming beside my laptop. The first hour belongs to learning new design software, coding techniques, marketing strategies. Knowledge costs nothing but time, and time is the one resource I now have in abundance. You're building something remarkable here, Mr. Callahan tells me one evening, nodding toward my growing portfolio displayed on my computer screen. Most people would still be wallowing. I don't tell him about the nights I still cry into my pillow. Instead, I show him the website I've launched, showcasing my work, each project meticulously categorized, every design decision documented. Quality over quantity, deliberate over desperate. When the email arrives from Westbrook Industries, a referral from one of Mr. Callahan's colleagues, I read it 3 times before believing it. Their marketing director needs design work for an upcoming product launch. My first corporate client. The deposit they send covers 2 months of physical therapy. I celebrate by buying a real desk chair instead of the folding metal one that leaves my back aching each night. The cream envelope arrives on a Tuesday, 6 months after the accident. Heavy cardstock with Sloan and Derek embossed in silver script across the front. Inside, the wedding invitation is a masterpiece of tasteful excess ivory paper, gold foil, and the words, "Family is everything," curling along the bottom in elegant calligraphy. My mother's voicemail follows the next day. Emberly, it's Mom. Your sister is getting married in August. Surely you can set aside your dramatics for one day. A pause, then her voice softens with practiced concern. Everyone's asking about you. It doesn't look right, you not being there. The words "it doesn't look right" echo in my head as I draft my response. Not "we miss you" or "we want you there." Just concern about appearances. I write the decline letter on my best stationery, each word measured and precise. Thank you for the invitation. I'm unable to attend. I wish Sloane and Derek every happiness. No explanation, no apology, just facts, politely stated. Sealing the envelope feels like closing a chapter. The tremor in my hands, once a constant companion, is noticeably absent as I press the stamp into place. 2 days later, my phone buzzes with a text from Casey, my college roommate who still keeps in touch with Sloane. Thought you should see this. Her message reads, followed by screenshots from my family's group chat. Mother, Emberly declined. So selfish. Sloane, typical. Everything's always about her. Stepfather, we're better off without the drama. I stare at their words, waiting for the familiar ache in my chest. It doesn't come. Instead, I feel an unexpected lightness, as if the final weight has been lifted. When I sealed that response letter, I wondered if I was closing a door that should remain cracked open. Is maintaining family connections worth sacrificing your self-respect, or does true healing sometimes require a clean break? 3 days later, the Halston media office occupies the 12th floor of a glass tower in downtown Portland. I arrived 20 minutes early for the interview, giving myself time to navigate the lobby. My movements are more fluid now, though the slight hitch in my stride remains a subtle reminder of metal pins and hard-won recovery. The receptionist smiles as I approach. Miss Wilson? They're ready for you. The interviewer, a woman with silver-streaked hair and bright eyes, doesn't glance at my leg once. Instead, she studies my portfolio with genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions about my design process and creative philosophy. Your work shows remarkable attention to detail, she says, lingering over a branding package I created for a local coffee shop. And these user experience flows, they demonstrate real empathy for the customer journey. When she extends the offer design manager, $115,000 annually, with benefits and remote work flexibility, I maintain my composure until I reach my car. Then I press my forehead against the steering wheel and let the tears flow freely, not from pain or loss, but from vindication. That evening, I call Mr. Callahan to share the news. They saw my work, I tell him, my voice thick with emotion. Not my limp, not my story, just my work. The world is full of people who recognize value when they see it, he replies. And those who don't? They reveal more about themselves than about you. 2 weeks later, the cottage sits on a 1/4 acre just outside the city limits. It's nothing grand, 2 bedrooms, worn hardwood floors that creak with character, and a wraparound porch that caught my eye the moment I saw the listing. The previous owners left behind climbing roses that frame the front steps, their scent welcoming visitors even before the door opens. The realtor, a man with a booming laugh and perpetually untucked shirts, raises his eyebrows when I make the offer without consulting anyone. Don't you want to bring your husband by? Or your parents? He asks, pen hovering over the paperwork. It's just me, I reply, meeting his gaze steadily, and I know what I want. When the closing date arrives, I sit alone at a table scattered with documents, signing my name over and over. The loan officer explains each form with practiced efficiency, occasionally glancing up as if expecting someone else to walk through the door. The final signature complete, she hands me a set of keys attached to a small wooden house charm. Congratulations, Miss Wilson. The property is yours. The weight of those keys in my palm feels different from anything I've experienced before, not the burden of dependence or the sting of rejection. Instead, they represent a promise kept to myself, a foundation built with my own hands. That evening, I sit on the porch steps of my new home, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. For the first time in over a year, I don't feel the need to look back. The road ahead, winding and uncertain as it may be, is entirely mine to travel. Almost 2 years later, the package arrives on a Wednesday, wrapped in mint green paper with cartoon giraffes dancing across the surface. Inside lies a tiny blue onesie, impossibly small booties, and a handwritten note from Sloane. Your nephew wants to meet his aunt. I run my fingers over the soft cotton, something tugging at my heart despite my best efforts to remain unmoved. I place the package on my coffee table where it sits for 3 days before I tuck it away in a drawer. No response sent. 2 weeks later, another envelope arrives. This one contains no baby clothes, Just a medical bill with my stepfather's name and a post-it note in my mother's handwriting. Robert had a stroke. We're drowning in expenses. The subtle implication hangs unspoken between the typewritten lines now that I've landed on my feet. Surely I owe them. My phone buzzes with increasing frequency. Text messages appear like clockwork, each one heavier with obligation than the last. Family takes care of family. My mother writes on a Tuesday morning. Remember who raised you? Arrives that Friday evening. Your nephew said his first word today. It should have been aunt. Sloan adds the following week. 3 days later, I've just finished watering my front porch ferns when a silver sedan pulls into my driveway. My mother steps out, looking older than I remember, her hair more gray than brown now. She wears her church clothes, cream-colored blouse, sensible tan slacks, gold cross necklace catching the afternoon sunlight. The outfit she reserves for important negotiations. Emberly, she calls, not waiting for an invitation before climbing my porch steps. What a lovely home. I don't invite her inside. Instead, I remain where I stand. Watering can still gripped in my right hand. Why are you here? Can't a mother visit her daughter? She attempts a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. We miss you. Robert's been asking for you since his stroke. A calm settles over me, different from the anxiety her presence would have triggered a year ago. I needed you when I was sleeping in my car with a broken leg. Her expression falters. We didn't know. I almost lost my leg while you were too busy to answer my calls. My voice remains steady, a fact that seems to unnerve her more than if I'd shouted. 17 calls, Mother. Not one returned. You've always been so independent, we thought. You thought what was convenient for you to think. I set the watering can down on the porch railing. The truth is, you never showed up for me unless it benefited you somehow. That's not fair, she protests, eyes darting past me to peer through my front windows. We're family. Family wouldn't have let me sleep in a car that December with a compound femur fracture. She sighs dramatically. Are you still dwelling on that? It's been almost 2 years, Emberly. People make mistakes. 2 robins land on my front lawn, pecking at the grass while we stand in silence. I've rehearsed this moment countless times, but now that it's here, I feel nothing but a profound weariness. The following Monday, I sit across from attorney Joanna Faulkner, her office smelling of lemon polish and old books. A formal no-contact letter is certainly within your rights, she explains, sliding papers across her desk. Once served by certified mail, any further attempts at contact could potentially constitute harassment. And they can't contest it? I ask, pen hovering above the signature line. They can contest anything, but the law is on your side. Her eyes are kind behind tortoiseshell glasses. This isn't about disowning them, it's about establishing boundaries they've proven unwilling to respect. I sign my name with a steady hand, authorizing letters to be sent to my mother, stepfather, and Sloan. The weight lifts from my shoulders with each stroke of the pen. 3 days later, my phone rings with my mother's number. Against better judgment, I answer. You can't legally disown your family. Her voice borders on hysterical. We're blood. What will people at church think? I'm not disowning you, I reply, surprised by the calm in my voice. I'm protecting myself. After hanging up, I systematically silence notifications, redirect my mail to a P.O. box, and block their accounts across all social media platforms. The final click of the block button feels like locking a door on a chapter of my life that no longer serves me. That evening, I sit alone on my porch swing, watching fireflies blink in the gathering dusk. The slight creak of the chains above my head keeps rhythm with the cicadas' evening chorus. For the first time in months, I breathe deeply without the tightness in my chest that thoughts of family once triggered. 3 months pass in peaceful silence. Then a sympathy card arrives from a distant cousin my stepfather has died. The note mentions I've been cut from the will. When my friend Marcella calls to tell me, concerned about how I'm taking the news, my response surprises even me. Good. I wouldn't have taken a cent. A week later, a thick envelope arrives, Sloane's familiar handwriting sprawled across the front. Inside is a 5-page letter filled with vitriol, ending with, "You'll die alone." I seal it in a fresh envelope, write "Return to sender" across the front, and add a second smaller envelope marked, "For my aunt, 18 years from now." Both are returned unopened. Standing at my mailbox watching the postal carrier drive away with my returned letters, I realize I've finally stopped waiting for the family I was born into to become the family I needed. In their absence, I've become my own foundation. The scent of barbecue sauce mingles with summer air as I adjust the platter of corn on my back deck. 3 years have transformed this space from barren dirt to an oasis. Tomato plants climb their cages in neat rows beside peppers and herbs, a living testament to patience and care. Need any help with those? Melissa calls from the picnic table where she's arranging paper plates in colorful stacks. Got it covered, I answer, balancing the tray on my hip as I navigate the steps. My leg gives only the slightest twinge, a whisper of what once was. The limp that doctors warned might be permanent has faded to a subtle hitch in my stride, noticeable only to those who know to look for it. I move through my garden with the confidence of someone who has rebuilt herself from foundation to rooftop. Laughter erupts from the far corner where Sam is telling another outrageous story from his restaurant kitchen. The sound fills my yard, warm and genuine, so different from the measured, careful conversations of my childhood home where words were currency spent only when necessary. Your tomatoes are putting mine to shame, my neighbor Eleanor says, inspecting a plump red fruit. What's your secret? Knowing when to cut away what doesn't serve you. I answer with a smile. And good compost. The words carry more truth than she knows. Some things must be pruned for others to flourish. Later, as the sky melts into watercolor hues, I stand in the hospital corridor where my life fractured and reformed. The same antiseptic smell, the same fluorescent lights, but a different woman walks these halls now. My steps are sure, my shoulders squared beneath my blazer. The donation check in my purse feels like completion of a circle. $5,000 toward the Patient Emergency Fund, not enough to change the world, but perhaps enough to change one world, the way Mr. Callahan changed mine. When the administrator steps away to get a receipt, I slip down the recovery wing. Room 412 looks the same as when I spent those awful nights staring at the ceiling. I tap the underside of the bed frame and secure a small envelope with clear tape. Inside, a note. Sometimes the ones you need most walk away, and sometimes you're better off because of it. Words I wish someone had told me when I thought being abandoned meant being unworthy of love. The monthly dinner at the Callahans has become a cornerstone of my calendar. Margaret's dining room glows with candlelight as we pass dishes family style, the conversation flowing as easily as the wine, to building bridges that matter. Mr. Callahan says, raising his glass, and having the courage to burn those that don't. His wife squeezes my hand under the table. Their son, now in college, asks about my next speaking engagement. The warmth around this table has nothing to do with blood relations, and everything to do with chosen presence. These people showed up. They continue to show up. No conditions, no scorekeeping. My book sits on bookstores' shelves nationwide now, its spine bearing my name above the title, After Abandonment. Building a Life That's Yours. The publisher called last week about a second printing. The speaking requests arrive daily: community centers, support groups, conferences for therapists who work with estranged adult children. I've repainted every room in my house, installed new windows that let in more light, planted perennials that return stronger each spring. The physical manifestations of an inner truth. Renewal requires both destruction and creation. Tonight, I sit on my porch swing as sunset paints the sky in brushstrokes of amber and rose. The solitude wraps around me like a favorite blanket, comfortable rather than confining. Not lonely, just peacefully alone. As I sat there watching the light fade, I realized that forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it simply means accepting that the past cannot be changed, but the future is entirely yours to build. Would you have tried one more time with family who abandoned you in your darkest hour? Or would you have done as I did, close that door to open better ones? Light spills through the wavy glass of our kitchen windows, casting rippled shadows across the butcher block counter where I'm whisking pancake batter. Copper mixing bowl rings with each turn of my wrist. Outside, Emma's determined voice carries over the fence. No, Noah, that's not how you build a house. Andrew leans against the doorframe, coffee mug cradled in his hands. Should we rescue him from her creative direction? Let her be the boss for now. I pour batter onto the griddle in careful circles. She gets that from your mother. The doorbell chimes 3 times in rapid succession. My spatula freezes mid-flip. Only one person rings our bell that way. Through the kitchen window, I spot Gerald's restored Buick parallel parked against our curb. I'll get it. Andrew sets down his mug and heads for the door. I hear the distinctive squeak of our front porch steps, then Martha's voice rising above the birdsong. "We have the most wonderful news." Their footsteps thunder toward the kitchen. I steady my grip on the spatula, counting backward from 10 the way my therapist suggested. Gerald appears first, filling the doorway in his pressed khakis and Oxford shirt. Martha squeezes past him, her coral lipstick bright against her teeth. "The Hendersons are selling," Gerald's voice booms through our modest kitchen. "You know, the blue house 2 doors down?" My pancake burns while I process his words. The scent of scorched butter fills my nose as Martha beams at Andrew. "Just think," she says, "we could be neighbors." The spatula clatters against the griddle. I grab it before it slides into the flame, but not before Andrew's face lights up like Christmas morning. "That would be amazing." He wraps his mother in a hug. "We've talked about having you closer." "We haven't. Not once." Martha pulls away, already moving through our kitchen with familiar authority. She opens the cabinet where I keep my plates. "The exterior needs work, of course. That awful green trim has to go, but the bones are good. We're putting in a lowball offer." Gerald claims his usual spot at our breakfast bar. "These sellers always take it. Market's cooling off." My hand trembles as I pour more batter, remembering last month when Martha reorganized my spice rack alphabetically instead of by frequency of use. The month before, she'd replaced my kitchen curtains while I was at work because the old ones made the room look cheap. Sunday dinners every week. Martha pulls plates from the cabinet, discarding my careful stacks. No more excuses about the drive being too long. The words trigger a memory from Emma's birthday party last spring. Gerald undermines our no dessert before dinner rule, sneaking her an extra cupcake with a conspiratorial wink. Sometimes Grandpa knows better than Mommy. My jaw aches from holding back words that want to escape. Andrew catches my eye across the kitchen, his hand finding mine under the counter, a silent plea for patience, for peace. The same gesture he makes during our late-night arguments after his parents leave. "I'll talk to them." He always promises, but he never does. Martha leans across the counter, close enough that I smell her signature perfume. I can finally watch the children properly, the way a grandmother should. "We could share a vacation home in Cannon Beach." Gerald's voice carries the weight of decided fact. "One big happy family again, like when Andrew was growing up." My fingers go numb where Andrew squeezes them under the counter. This isn't just another boundary crossed. This is a siege. "We'll be neighbors by Christmas," Martha announces as they finally head for the door, pancakes forgotten in the excitement of their plans. I already have paint samples picked out. I stand at the sink long after their car disappears, watching soap bubbles pop against the ceramic. The children's laughter drifts in from outside, oblivious to the walls closing in. Andrew wraps his arms around my waist, his chin resting on my shoulder. "It might be nice," he whispers, "having them closer." I pull away, stomach churning. That night, after Andrew falls asleep, I sit in the soft glow of my laptop screen. The separate savings account I've maintained since before our marriage glows back at me. $550,000. My safety net. My independence. My cursor hovers over the phone number for Sarah Chen, the real estate agent who helped us buy this house. I think about Martha's hands in my cabinets, Gerald's voice overruling our parenting, the constant criticism wrapped in smiles and good intentions. The question isn't whether I can afford to buy that house. The question is whether I can afford not to. I made an appointment with the real estate agent the following day, as I need a solution really quickly. The next day, the Starbucks on Division Street bustles with its usual morning crowd. I chose this location deliberately far enough from our neighborhood that I won't run into Martha or Gerald, close enough that I can make it back before my lunch break ends. Sarah Chen slides into the chair across from me, her sleek leather portfolio a stark contrast to the scattered papers I've spread across the table. An LLC. Her eyebrow rises as she reviews the documents. For a residential property? I push my coffee aside, leaning away from the window. Complete discretion is essential. Sarah's dark eyes scan the paperwork, her Mont Blanc pen tapping against the table. A former corporate lawyer turned real estate agent, she helped us buy our Craftsman 3 years ago. Back then, I'd appreciated her attention to detail. Now, I'm counting on it. Your in-laws submitted their offer yesterday. She pulls out a folder, keeping her voice low. $480,000, with extensive conditions. They're banking on their connections with the Hendersons through the country club. My fingers trace the rim of my cup. What kind of conditions? Full inspection contingencies. They're demanding the sellers replace the roof, update the electrical, remodel the master bath. Sarah shakes her head. The sellers are frustrated. 3 pages of requirements, and that's before the lowball price. A warmth spreads through my chest, not quite pride, not quite satisfaction. Something closer to certainty. I'll offer full asking price. No conditions beyond standard inspection. Sarah's pen stops mid-tab. That's $550,000. I know. The number matches the balance in my private account down to the dollar. Years of careful saving, of maintaining separate finances even after marriage. My safety net, my independence fund, Andrew never questioned why I kept it. Maybe he assumed it was a quirk from my programmer's need for control. Maybe he understood more than he let on. You've thought this through. It's not a question. Sarah pulls out another form, this one crisp and official. Tranquility Holdings, LLC. Fitting name. The property management company can handle everything? She nods, sliding me a business card. Bridgetown Property Services. They're discreet, professional, been in business 30 years. My hands don't shake as I sign the papers. They should. I'm emptying my entire safety fund, lying to my husband, manipulating his parents. But all I feel is a cool, clear sense of purpose. I have one non-negotiable requirement for the property manager. I meet Sarah's eyes. Long-term tenants only. No exceptions, no short-term rentals. I want a family in that house. The lunch break was over, we made a deal, and I returned to my work, anxious, but still there was no turning back to get the peace I wanted. That day, the late-night glow of my laptop screen casts shadows across my home office walls. 3,000 miles away, Michael's face fills my screen, his Boston apartment visible in the background. You spent how much to avoid your in-laws? His voice cracks on the number. To protect my family, I correct him, keeping my voice low, though Andrew's been asleep for hours. You don't understand what it's like, Michael. The constant criticism, the undermining, the surprise visits. Emma asked me last week why Grandma doesn't like my cooking. Jesus, Ev. He runs a hand through his hair, the same nervous gesture our father used to make. But buying a whole house? In secret? I didn't just buy a house. The words come easier now, in the dark. I bought peace of mind, space to breathe, room for my children to grow up without constant judgment. Secrets have a way of finding daylight, Ev. His tone softens. What happens when Andrew finds out? I touch the small silver pendant at my throat, Grandma Claire's last gift. Sometimes silence is the strongest boundary. The next morning, my in-laws' call heats up the situation. Mom, Andrew's voice carries up the stairs. Phone for you. I save the code I'm working on and head downstairs. Andrew holds out his cell phone, mouthing my mother with an apologetic shrug. Evelyn. Martha's voice wavers. Some corporation outbid us on the house. Can you believe it? After all our careful planning. In the background, Gerald's voice booms. Faceless companies, ruining good neighborhoods, probably turn it into one of those Airbnb party houses. I'm so sorry to hear that. The words come automatically, practiced. In the kitchen, Andrew loads the dishwasher, his movements sharp with frustration. He hates being caught between his parents' demands and our peace. We worked so hard on that offer. Martha's voice rises. Gerald even called in a favor with the inspector to help negotiate the price down. It's just not fair. I murmur sympathetic noises, watching Andrew's back. He thinks I'm worried about his parents moving closer. He has no idea I'm the faceless corporation they're railing against. The thought sends an unexpected thrill through me, a secret power humming beneath my skin. Later that night, I stand in our bathroom, studying my reflection. The woman in the mirror looks the same as yesterday, last week, last month. But something has shifted beneath the surface, like code running silent but powerful in the background. Andrew appears behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. I'm sorry about the house. I know you were worried about them being so close. I lean back against him, our eyes meeting in the mirror. My hand finds his, fingers intertwining. The gesture contains multitudes. Love, guilt, protection, deception. All the complexities of choosing family peace over absolute truth. Everything happens for a reason, I whisper, and feel him nod against my shoulder. Later, in the darkness of our bedroom, I listen to his steady breathing and wonder. Is protection still honest when it requires deception? The questions spiral in my mind. familiar companions now. But beneath them, solid as bedrock, lies the certainty that I'd do it again. Some boundaries are worth the price in dollars and in secrets kept. The mortgage papers rest in a sealed envelope at the back of my desk drawer, Tranquility Holdings LLC printed in bold across the top. The name feels right, even now. Tranquility, bought and paid for. Peace, purchased in silence. Tomorrow, a young family will sign their lease for the blue house 2 doors down. They have 2 children, according to Sarah. The property management company chose them specifically stable jobs, excellent references, looking for a long-term home. Perfect neighbors, perfect camouflage, perfect protection. I close my eyes and smile in the dark. The doorbell rings at 10 in the morning. Through our living room window, I spot Martha's coral cardigan, her silver hair catching sunlight as she peers through our front door glass. Behind her, Gerald's shoes gleam with fresh polish against our welcome mat. I brought property records. Martha waves a manila folder as I open the door. The blue house sold to some corporate entity. Tranquility Holdings LLC. Her lipstick crinkles at the corners. Probably those California investors, buying up the whole neighborhood. Gerald squeezes past her into our entryway. Already sent an email to my contact at the city. He'll dig deeper into who's behind it. I fold my hands behind my back to hide their trembling. Would anyone like coffee? No time. Martha beelines for my kitchen, her heels clicking against hardwood. I noticed your cabinet organization system isn't working. If we lived closer, I could help you properly arrange things. She opens the spice drawer, testing at my alphabetical rows. No wonder Andrew says you never cook anything adventurous. My spine stiffens. Andrew has never criticized my cooking to me. Noah toddles in from the playroom, craft glue smeared across his shirt. Gamma! Oh, sweetie, what happened to your clothes? Martha's hands flutter toward him. Evelyn, you should be watching him more carefully with messy projects. Emma appears in the doorway, her small face pinched. Why is Grandma always mad at Mommy? The room goes quiet, except for Martha's sharp inhale. I cross to Emma and squeeze her shoulder. Grandma isn't mad, honey. Sometimes grown-ups just have different ways of doing things. Speaking of different ways, I continue, straightening to my full height, we've decided to make some changes to our Sunday routine. Martha's fingers clench around a jar of cinnamon. Changes? We're keeping Sundays just for our immediate family from now on. The words emerge steadier than I expect. The children need downtime before school weeks. But Sunday dinner is our tradition, Martha's voice rises. We've done it since Andrew was small. Mom. Andrew appears in the doorway, his presence unexpected but welcome. We need some space. Martha's face crumples. She sets down the cinnamon with exaggerated care. I see how it is. First the house, now this. Gerald clears his throat. If you'd helped us with our offer, Martha might not feel so hurt. Family should support family. Not everyone wants to live in a compound, Martha. The words slip out before I can catch them. Silence crashes through the kitchen. Martha's coral lips part, then press into a thin line. Gerald's neck flushes red above his collar. Andrew's eyes widen as he looks between us. Too stunned to speak, they just wave their hands, shake their hands, and leave the house in a hurry. I just glanced at my shocked husband, went to take my coat, and went to meet my friend. That afternoon, I meet Rebecca at Coffee Fellows, our usual spot 3 neighborhoods away from any possibility of running into Martha and Gerald. You did what? Rebecca chokes on her latte when I confess about the house. Her laugh rings across the cafe. That's brilliant, actually. Is it? I trace condensation patterns on my cold brew. Sometimes I feel like I'm being cruel. You're not being mean, you're being strategic. Rebecca leans forward, her silver bangles clicking against the table. Smart women fight quietly and effectively. Look how many boundaries you've already set since buying that house. She's right. At dinner last night, I didn't jump up to clear plates the moment Martha set down her fork. When she criticized Emma's elbows on the table, I stayed silent instead of rushing to adjust my daughter's posture. You seem different lately, Andrew said after his parents left. Stronger somehow. I didn't tell him that strength flows from knowing I've created an invisible fortress, a buffer zone of brick and mortar between us and his parents' constant intrusion. As time passes, the property management company sends monthly reports showing steady rental income. I keep them in a locked folder on my laptop, along with a letter I've drafted to Andrew explaining everything. The family renting the house has 2 children close to Emma and Noah's ages. Sometimes I watch them playing in the front yard, their laughter drifting over the fence, and know I made the right choice. My phone buzzes. A text from Michael. Might have mentioned something to Jenny about your house situation. My fingers go cold. Jenny knows someone in Portland. The circles of knowledge spread like ripples in still water, each wider ring threatening to reach Andrew's shore. Who else have you told? I text back. 3 dots pulse as Michael types. Just Jenny, but she was asking about investment properties in Portland. I close my eyes, remembering his warning months ago. One person might keep a secret, but secrets have a way of multiplying, spreading through casual conversations and innocent questions until they surface where you least expect them. Like a shark fin breaking water, the truth waits beneath the surface of every conversation with Martha and Gerald. How long before they find the connection? Before someone mentions Tranquility Holdings LLC to the wrong person? Before Andrew hears it from someone other than me? The window of protected peace I've built narrows with each passing day. Soon I'll have to choose. Continue protecting our family through silence, or risk everything by speaking truth. My phone buzzes again. This time it's Martha. Gerald's golf friend knows someone at the property management company. We've got a meeting next week to discuss the house. Isn't that wonderful? Everything happens for a reason. I set down my phone, hands steady despite the tremor in my chest. Time has run out. The truth will emerge one way or another. Better it come from me. I am mentally prepared for the storm coming at me. The next day, Andrew drops a glossy flyer on my keyboard while I'm debugging code. His shoulders slump forward, aging him beyond his 36 years. My parents asked me to give you this. The property management company's logo blazes across the top, their contact information circled in Martha's precise red pen. Below, in neat typing, offer $620,000 for 1,542 Maple Street, $70,000 above market value. A handwritten note curls along the bottom margin in Martha's flowing script. We're determined to be closer to our grandchildren. Money is no object when it comes to family. My fingers grow cold against the keyboard. 3 months of careful planning, of maintained distance, and now this. Andrew perches on the edge of my desk, his wedding ring clicking against the wood. They won't let this go. It's all they talk about. I minimize my code window, unable to focus on the algorithms that usually calm my racing thoughts. Have they said anything else? Mom keeps sending listings for other houses, but she always circles back to this one. He rubs his temples. Dad's talking about taking out a second mortgage on their place to increase the offer. The afternoon sun slants through my home office window, casting shadow bars across the flyer. 3 months ago, I thought my plan was foolproof. Now the walls are closing in again. That night, after the children are asleep, Andrew paces our bedroom. His reflection fragments in the mirror with each pass. I feel like I'm constantly choosing sides. I sit cross-legged on our bed, watching him wear a path in the carpet. We've had this conversation before, but tonight feels different, heavier. They're my parents, Evelyn, his voice cracks. But you're my wife, and every time they push, I'm caught in the middle. I know. The words taste inadequate on my tongue. He stops at the window, staring out at the darkened street. Sometimes I think if we just let them move closer, maybe the pressure would ease up. My heart pounds against my ribs. If he only knew how close they already are. The next morning, Martha's number lights up my phone screen. I almost let it go to voicemail, but that would only delay the inevitable. We've contacted the property company directly, she announces without preamble. Her voice carries that familiar tone of smug satisfaction. They've agreed to pass along our offer to the owner. My knuckles whiten around the phone. Oh? We should hear back by Friday. A pause heavy with expectation. You'll help convince Andrew this is for the best, won't you? You know how he values your opinion. I make polite noises and end the call, then immediately dial the property manager. Sarah picks up on the second ring. Remember our agreement, I say, my voice steadier than my hands. No direct contact with potential buyers. They're persistent, Mrs. Harrington, and they're offering significantly above market value. The answer is still no. My phone buzzes with a text as I hang up. Caroline, my old college roommate. Ran into your brother's wife at a conference. She mentioned something about you being a secret landlord? The message blurs before my eyes. I've contained this secret for 3 months, but now it's spreading like water through paper. That afternoon, I drive past the blue house. 2 children play in the front yard, their laughter carrying across the quiet street. The two kids are about the same age as Emma and Noah. In another version of this story, Martha would be watching from that window, cataloging every parenting choice I make. My fingers drum against the steering wheel. The guilt of deception weighs against the peace these past 3 months have brought. If Andrew couldn't say no to them on his own, I had to do it for him. Protection sometimes requires difficult choices. The property manager calls again the next day. Mrs. Harrington, I'm sorry, but they've become quite insistent. They're demanding a meeting with the owner. Martha's voicemail follows minutes later. We've scheduled a meeting with the property manager. They've agreed to introduce us to the owner directly. Her voice drips with triumph. I knew persistence would pay off. I go inside the house, just wash my face with cold water to ease the anxiety and go to my home office. I sit in my home office, staring at the folder I've kept locked in my desk drawer since the purchase. Inside, the property deed gleams with official stamps. Tranquility Holdings, LLC. My secret shield against chaos. But secrets have expiration dates, so I need to tell the truth, no matter how painful it will be. That evening, I make Andrew's favorite meal, herb-crusted salmon with roasted fingerling potatoes. Emma and Noah are to sleep over with their cousins. The house feels too quiet, too empty, like a theater before the final act. I place the folder beside his plate, its edges align perfectly with the placemat. Inside, along with the deed, rests my handwritten letter explaining everything. 3 months of protection, of calculated silence, of watching my husband slowly unravel under the pressure of divided loyalties. Some secrets protect, but others destroy. I have to tell him before someone else does. The garage door rumbles. Andrew's key turns in the lock. My hands steady themselves against the kitchen counter as his footsteps approach. Time's up. The phone rings during dinner preparation. I recognize Martha's ringtone one Andrew programmed, so I'd always know to brace myself. Sweetheart, please. Martha's voice carries through the speaker. You have to help us with this house situation. Andrew stands at the kitchen counter, phone pressed to his ear, shoulders hunched. I focus on dicing carrots, each cut precise and measured. The steady thunk of knife against cutting board almost drowns out Martha's voice. Almost. The property manager won't even consider our offer without meeting us first. A theatrical sniffle. If you reached out as a neighbor. Mom, I don't know if that's appropriate. Family should stay close. Gerald's voice booms in the background. Tell them you're the neighbor's son. That'll get their attention. Andrew's eyes find mine across the kitchen. I keep chopping, maintaining the rhythm. Thunk, thunk, thunk. I'll see what I can do, he says finally. My knife slips. A thin red line appears on my thumb, but I barely feel it. Hours later, after slipping a Band-Aid over the cut, I light the candles I bought special for tonight, the ones that smell like cedar and autumn leaves. The children are at the Pattersons for a sleepover arrangement that cost me 2 weekends of hosting their boys in return. The table setting looks too perfect. I adjust the fork next to Andrew's plate for the 3rd time, then slide the manila folder into place beside it. My handwriting on the front looks foreign, each letter carved with careful precision. For Andrew. He comes through the door at 6:45, exactly on time. The one thing I can always count on Andrew's punctuality. Wow. He pauses in the doorway, taking in the candlelight, the wine glasses, the careful table setting. What's the occasion? Sit down. My voice comes out steadier than I expect. Please. He does, still wearing that confused half smile. You made cocoa vin on a Thursday? I don't answer. Can't answer. Just watch as his eyes finally land on the folder. What's this? Open it. His fingers move slowly, like he's defusing a bomb. Property deed. LLC documentation. Rental agreement. Bank statements. Each page laid out in chronological order, the way I've arranged my confessions. The confusion on his face deepens, then shifts. I see the moment understanding hits. His hands go still on the papers. Tranquility Holdings, LLC. His voice sounds distant. You own the house my parents wanted? Yes. The word barely makes it past my lips. For 3 months now. The silence stretches between us like a rubber band, pulling tighter and tighter. I wait for it to snap. You didn't trust me enough to tell me? The hurt in his voice cuts deeper than my knife slip earlier. All this time, while they've been... He stops, swallows hard. How could you keep this from me? I didn't do this to hurt them, or you. The words I've rehearsed 100 times tumble out wrong. I did it because I couldn't watch them take over our lives. Not here. Not 2 doors down. So you just... What? Spent $500,000 without telling me? It was my separate account. Money I brought into the marriage. That's not the point, and you know it. His chair scrapes back. He stands, paces to the window. We're supposed to be partners. Partners? Something inside me breaks loose. Like you partnered with me all those times your mother reorganized my kitchen? Or when your father told Emma that mommy's rules didn't matter because grandpa knows better? He turns, and I see it land. All the moments I've cataloged. All the boundaries crossed. I never stood up to them. The words come slowly. I left that burden to you. I wrote you a letter. I pull it from beneath the folder. 3 pages, written the night I made the offer on the house. Everything I couldn't say out loud. He takes it, unfolds it carefully, reads in silence while I hold my breath. Sometimes I feel like I'm drowning, he reads aloud. Every Sunday dinner, every surprise visit, every criticism wrapped in sugarcoating. But I can't tell you because you love them. Because they're your parents. Because every time I try to say something, you give me that look, the one that begs me not to make waves. The letter trembles in his hands. I had no idea. He looks up, really looks at me. You've been carrying this alone all this time. It wasn't about control. My voice cracks. It was about peace. He crosses back to the table, sits down heavily. I should have seen it. Should have stopped him years ago. I reach across the table. His fingers find mine, warm and solid. We can figure this out together now, I whisper. That's why I'm telling you. I can't carry it alone anymore. He picks up the rental agreement, studies it with new eyes. The family living there, they're happy? Very. 2 kids. Good jobs. 2-year lease. A laugh bubbles up, surprising us both. You really outmaneuvered my parents. I did. And the property management company has strict instructions about entertaining purchase offers. He shakes his head, but I see the smile tugging at his mouth. My brilliant, terrifying wife. We sit in comfortable silence, the candles burning lower. Finally, he asks the question I've been dreading. Should we tell them? I consider it carefully. Would knowing help them accept boundaries, or would it just give them new ammunition? Some truths cause unnecessary pain. He squeezes my hand. Maybe this one stays between us. The cocoa vin grows cold on our plates, forgotten. But something else warms between us, understanding, forgiveness, a new kind of trust built on hard truths. I'll handle them from now on, Andrew says finally. You shouldn't have had to carry that alone. I lean across the table and blow out the candles. In the sudden darkness, I can breathe again. That weekend, the restaurant buzzes with lunch hour chatter. Andrew sits across from his parents at their usual corner booth at Riverside Grill, his wedding ring tapping against his water glass. The familiar scent of Martha's perfume mingles with the aroma of grilled salmon and herb butter. We need to talk about respect and boundaries. His voice carries the quiet authority I've yearned to hear for years. Through the window behind them, autumn leaves spiral down to the pavement. Martha's fork pauses halfway to her mouth. What do you mean, sweetheart? Andrew unfolds a piece of paper from his pocket. My heart swells, recognizing the list we wrote together last night. I've made notes about specific behaviors that need to change. Gerald's eyebrows lift. Notes? About us? The unannounced visits stop now. Andrew's finger marks each point. So does rearranging our home without asking. No more undermining our parenting decisions. No more criticism wrapped as helpful suggestions. Martha's face flushes pink. We're just trying to... That's what family does. Family respects boundaries. Andrew holds her gaze. Or they lose the privilege of being close. The silent agreement and head nodding confirm the new path and unfolding of the events. With weeks passing, the transformation unfolds slowly, like ice melting in spring. Sunday dinners shift to twice monthly, instead of weekly. Martha's voice on the phone asks, "Is this a good time?" instead of launching into demands. The children's shoulders relax when their grandparents visit, no longer bracing for corrections about their posture or their manners. I watch the change from my quiet corner, satisfaction blooming like the roses I planted last spring. The roses Martha said would never thrive in that spot, yet now burst with crimson blooms. 6 months later, we gather for Noah's birthday. Sunlight streams through our kitchen windows as I set the homemade chocolate cake on the table. Martha studies the slightly uneven frosting, her lips pursing with familiar criticism. The decoration is a bit. Mom, Andrew's voice cuts through the air like a knife through butter. That's not helpful. Silence spreads across the kitchen. Martha blinks, then pulls her shoulders back. You're right. A small smile touches her lips. It looks delicious, actually. Noah will love it. Andrew catches my eye across the room. Victory shimmers between us like sunlight on water. The blue house, 2 doors down, has become home to the Peterson family. Their children's laughter mingles with the neighborhood sounds as they play hopscotch on the sidewalk. Martha and Gerald visit on scheduled days now, their silver Buick no longer appearing unexpectedly in our driveway. They've found a condo across town, close enough for comfort, but far enough for peace. Some evenings, Andrew and I walk past the house that could have changed everything. His hand finds mine in the growing darkness. Best investment we ever made, he whispers, and I hear the smile in his voice. The rental income flows steadily into our children's college funds. When my brother Michael visits, he grins and asks about my real estate empire while the kids play in the yard. The bond between Andrew and me has strengthened like steel forged in fire, tested by secrets but ultimately unified in protection. Last week, my friend Rebecca called about her mother-in-law moving in. I don't know how to say no without starting World War III. I stared out at the blue house while we talked. Sometimes the quietest boundaries are the strongest. You don't have to shout to be heard. Andrew has found his own way to share our hard-won wisdom. His coworker Tom struggles with family expectations about holiday visits. Over lunch breaks, Andrew coaches him through setting limits. It's not about winning, he tells Tom. It's about protecting what matters most. Tonight, Andrew and I sit on our porch swing, watching the street settle into evening shadows. The blue house glows warmly in the distance. Children's bikes scatter across front lawns as parents call them home for dinner. Martha and Gerald's car rolls past, brake lights flashing as they wave goodbye after a pleasant 2-hour visit. The swing creaks gently beneath us. My head rests against Andrew's shoulder as the first stars appear above the rooftops. This wasn't revenge, I whisper into the gathering dusk. This was protection in its purest form. Andrew's arm tightens around me. Below us, Emma's fairy house still stands in its sacred spot beneath the maple tree, now respected even by Martha's tidying urges. Noah's art hangs proudly on the refrigerator without commentary about proper paper use or color choices. The boundaries we built stand strong but invisible, like the love that helped us place each brick. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Sometimes peace comes not from what we say, but from what we quietly choose to do.